Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Onslaught changes and seeing if that makes Furious a better choice for Holy Fire than Anti-Armor was in the last video. So let's go ahead and go over the Onslaught mechanic and how that impacts the Holy Fire build. We're going to dive on in. Alright, so first we're going to see how Onslaught impacts the Holy Fire without Furious. So the same Anti-Armor Holy Fire from the King of Flamers video, link in the description, with faster weapon speed, reload, and the Pyro mod. So this build we're going to use the standard heavy weapon cards and 4 of the new agility cards. So we're using Gorilla Master for more damage to close enemies and additional Onslaught stacks, Gunslinger Master for more damage to weak spots and more Onslaught stacks, Gorilla Expert for faster reload and more stacks, and last we're going to use Gorilla, which doesn't give us any more stacks, but it does give us more damage to close enemies, and it was also reworked in this patch, so we're going to include it in the comparison. Onslaught works pretty similarly to how Furious used to work, where you gain more stacks as you hit enemies, but the major difference is that these stacks do not reset in between, so you can switch to different enemies, you can hit multiple enemies at the same time, and you can get more stacks. The Flamer hits really quick, so you get the stacks up pretty fast, and it can hit multiple enemies at the same time, which also makes the stacks go up pretty fast. Right now our stack limit is only 11 because we're not using Furious, but you can see we're hitting about 170-ish damage per tick for body shots and a little over 200 for headshots. You do want to run through the areas as fast as possible just so you don't lose your stacks. They do decay over time, so it may not match everybody's playstyle to have to sprint through and take out as many enemies as fast as possible. Here I'm going to remove the new perk so you see exactly how much damage we're boosting by, and the first thing you'll notice is that I die immediately. That's not really related to the cards, but you know, it happens. Alright, so we're running back into the fray here, and you'll see we're only doing about 100 to 140 damage per tick on the body shots, which is about 70 damage less than we were doing before with the new Gunslinger perks. Doesn't seem like a big deal on these super mutants, but it adds up quick when you're dealing with tankier enemies. So here in the Behemoth comparison, we did get staggered using Onslaught on the left side of the screen, but at that point the Behemoth was nearly down, and on the right side without Onslaught it was just below half health. So you can see here that little 50 to 70 and more damage per tick ends up being a big difference on these larger enemies. Alright, so here we're looking at the same anti-armor Holy Fire with the new perks on the left side and the Furious equivalent with the new perks on the right side. So at first the Furious is doing less damage than the anti-armor, but it has higher Onslaught stacks, and by the end of the fight it's doing more damage per tick. So anti-armor here did get staggered. It would have finished first if it hadn't gotten staggered, but on larger enemies like nuke bosses, that scaling for the Furious is going to have a bigger impact. You're just not seeing that here as much because you probably were already taking down the enemy before the stacks made that big of a difference. So overall, it looks like Furious is going to be the best prefix for long fights, but you're better off with anti-armor or another prefix for most of the content. If you're using a slower weapon, you could use the Gunslinger Master to gain reversed Onslaught, which is where the stacks go up outside of combat and down during combat. But with the Flamer, the stacks go down too quickly. I'll have another video going over the reverse Onslaught coming up soon. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you in the next one.